Hey everyone, welcome to the Realm News Podcast. It's Huntzki here, and I've got the owner of the server, Padre, with me. We're going to be talking about some stuff today, direction of the server, events, stuff like that. I'm going to bring up some the band things. How you doing today, Padre?
I'm doing pretty well. Just,
Good to hear.
Goes into my morning here.
About the same. So, wipe time. That was 2 p.m. Central Time, correct?
2 p.m. Central Time. It's usually what the wipe time is. We try to keep it right in the middle for a good time for our EU players as well as our American players, even though,
Unfortunately, other European players get kind of a rough start time.
8 p.m. is rough, but it's you gotta meet in the middle somehow.
Right, it's unfortunate. It is what it is. Maybe at some point things get looked at, but yeah, it is unfortunately what it is. Which kind of leads me into off topic, but even events tie into that. How we do one thing at let's say 6 p.m. Central for us is, what is that, 2 a.m. for them?
Right, and it's kind of ironic because as long as I've been playing Ark, which is as long as you've been playing Ark, when I met you and Gate years ago, there's one thing consistent with UK players is that they always tend to be up around the time that the US players are playing, which kind of puts it a little bit more in the middle. But yeah, generally the times of our events will start at that time, as we are a North American server. But we are looking to making some changes to that, making some more UK themed time events. We need to have more UK staff members who can run those sorts of events.
Yeah, because Frosty Mafia was talking about that. And I mean, the European players did come up with a valid grievance, I guess, is the thing. They weren't mad, but it's really hard for us to take part in these events. When can we compromise? And like you said, one of the first steps is probably getting a new admin in from a European time zone. It's a future goal, but at least it's a goal that we know there is something there to change, and we are going to work towards changing it, which I hope the community does know.
Right, and we are a staff of majority North Americans, but we do have at least one UK admin. I do know that Tezza does like to. He gets real excited about those sorts of events and building stuff. That would be a conversation to have with him if he wanted to run some of those events, be involved with that kind of thing. He'd have to go ahead and work together with Russian as well, being that Russian is also the events coordinator. But
for those that don't know while he's saying this, that's Frosty Mafia's Discord handle is Russian Mafia.
He's changed his name like 7 times, so this is just what I call him.
Fair enough.
You know what? I might, with everything going on in Ukraine right now, might want to call him Pup or something else. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But it is especially difficult. But for that, in order for that to happen, we would need a little bit more voicing from the UK community to say, hey, this is actually something that end of the community wants, so that we know, okay, if we put our efforts and time and energy into doing something like that and go ahead and coordinate with somebody like Tezza, or we get another staff member who is a UK person who really wants to do that kind of thing, that it wouldn't be a wasted effort.
That's true. Yeah, and well, that's just something to work towards with the community. I'm just gonna always slide into the next thing because they tie together nicely. Like, this goes into that community discussion. We are happy to engage in forward thinking discussions. Anytime a member of the server and any person playing it wants to talk to us about anything, I'm open ears for it. I am more than happy to. but they also need to be civil about it. Someone comes at me screaming, I'm probably not going to respond to them.
Respectful. Respect is the key word here, because you don't let anybody come up to you and just openly disrespect you and expect that you yourself are going to give them a positive sort of reaction on the other end. I've said this to multiple people that we've had issues with on the server in the past, like, hey, listen, man, I'm not trying to be a jerk, but if you come at me in a way that's disrespectful, I'm not going to help you. I'm going to do what needs to be done, and that's as far as that is. But if you have an issue and you're like, hey, listen, this is, something that's really upsetting me, or like, we've had people in the past that were like, hey, I don't like the way that the donations work with the RNG dinos. I feel like I got a little shafted. I have no issues with having a discussion or working something out to make people happy. We created this server as a way to provide a safe, fun place for people to play, and we're also here to work with people. So for me, on my end, to sit there and try to have this big head on my shoulders because I'm the server owner, and start going against things that would help and make an easier quality of life for the community would just be absolutely just not a smart move on my part. I'm always here to help, but you have to have that level of respect first. And it's the same thing in any sort of day-to-day interaction, whether you have that at school, you have that at work. You expect people are going to show you respect, and when they do, you respond positively.
Right. When someone wants to have a conversation about something and they come into it, their mind is open, my mind is open, and we both accept the fact that there's potential that our mind may have to change, because change is good. That's why with the community, we do work with them about changes, but only if they are civil about it. Like you said, if someone comes screaming at us that we need to change the time by an hour or something, it's probably going to be like, this isn't a conversation we're having.
Right. And I've instructed the staff that deals the most part with the day-to-day community, mainly admins and Discord moderators, that if somebody is being emotionally unstable, just handle it smoothly and let them know, hey, listen, you're a little upset right now, you're getting a little disrespectful, I don't appreciate the tone that's happening. Come back to me when you're a little bit more calm and we can have a conversation from there.
Yeah. For sure. But also people need to realize that the use of Discord to be part of the realm is a bonus. You don't need the Discord.
You do not need it to play the game.
And if you're coming to the Discord just to cause problems, well, goodbye.
Right, because I have been known to say this in the past, and the fact of the matter is at the end of the day, I'm now a 34-year-old man. I know you are in your upper 30s. We're more mature people that are running this thing. We want to provide a great place for people to play. But listen, I know that a fair amount of the player base is younger players. But the fact of the matter is, we're not here to babysit anyone. We're not here to be your parents. We're not here to, make this into the Discord, into your playhouse where you can go around and be toxic and say nasty things to people. If that's the case, we'll just let you go. And if you want to continue playing on the server at that point, as long as you're still following the rules, you can do that, but you won't be on Discord. That's just how that works.
Right. This is a business. I mean, it's fun, but you are still running a business. People come to the server looking for a service. And if other people are ruining that service, it's just like any person in a store. You wouldn't allow someone to stand in your store screaming at your customers. You'd be like, goodbye.
Right. That's keeping the peace and just keeping it a legitimate civil area to be. And it can be fun, and we do a lot of things for the server that we feel on our end really provide a really extra awesome thing for the Discord that allow people to come here and really enjoy it. We're always working on that. We're always working on moving forward with how we can just set ourselves apart from other communities on our Discord in ways that we can make it more immersive, more fun, more interacting. In the past, I've been known to do that with, trying to do a little bit of crazy things settings wise, and trying to set ourselves apart that way. And overall, as I've learned now, we do have a player base of people that enjoy it a specific way with the settings. So now we're focusing that same energy and that same attention towards overall providing a better experience, including the Discord and all of that sort of thing.
Right? Like, that's one of the directions we're looking for. Someone has made the comment, well, Ark is Ark, people are like that, they're all the same. Well, but they don't have to be the same. Are people going to be toxic? Absolutely. That's why in our Discord, we have set up a spot that people, they want to talk that nasty shit, let them, because they can do it there. We can't stop someone from saying anything. That is true. But there's still possibly consequences for what you say. That's why we have general chat is clear of that nasty stuff. We want general chat to be welcoming and open for questions. The term "there's no stupid questions" is not accurate. There are stupid questions, but we don't need to treat the person stupid for asking that question.
Right, and I get it from the standpoint of people who've been on the server for, we're going into our 7th season here, which is our 7th wipe. So that being said, I know that there's people that have been here since day one, and we love those people, like Bray. Bray's been here since day one, but it gets to a point where you just get tired of the new people coming in and asking questions when all of the information is there. All you have to do is go ahead and look at, find the channel for it. If you're looking for server stats, if you're looking for the rules, if you're looking for the wipe time, that's always displayed right on the left-hand side. But at the same time, you have to take it from their point of view of they're new to the server. They might be server hopping around. They might be looking for a new home, so to speak, a new place to play. And they don't necessarily, they're just trying to get in, get a feel for the spot, and then figure out really quickly if they want to stick around. So,
right, you know what?
That being said, they might not look at all those different tabs,
Right before this, my experience on Discord was so limited. I was almost, I wouldn't say overwhelmed going through all the information at once, but it was just, there was so much to sift through, because there is a lot to go through there for sure. But this goes back to that idea of a business. How many times, if you've done customer service, and this is to all the people listening in customer service, how many times has someone walked through the doors, looked maybe to their right and left for about 2 seconds, and then asked, where is this product? And it happens because people, right now, a lot of people just want the answers given to them. And unfortunately, you're right. It is so annoying that someone will just kind of walk in, they've joined the server, and first thing they do is ask a question without looking. But it still is what it is, and we have to try and just positively help those people. And you know what? Like you said, Bray there, he's been on the server for a long time. That's where it's just a simple conversation that, hey, the direction of the server is this. What we're trying to do with our chats is this. And you have that conversation with them, 9 out of 10 times, they're going to be like, all right, I see your point of view now.
Right. And I get that. I especially get the whole thing about Discord. I mean, I remember my first experience on Discord, I absolutely despised it. Like, I could not stand it. And that was way back when we were playing Unofficial together, and we were in the Mega Tribes.
Right.
And
we used Line.
Right, and that was probably likely your first experience with Discord as well, was going through that. And dealing with that, and you had all these different chats, and you had all these, you had an individual overarching Discord for the Mega Tribe, and then you had individual chats for, the servers, and then individual chats for this, that, and the other thing, and it was overwhelming as hell. And that's something that we see on other Ark Discords on official clusters, is you go on there, and it's just an absolute mess. You have no idea, like, the way that your eye sees it is just like, it's almost like a Picasso painting, It's just like, it's all over the place, and it's really, really difficult to maneuver yourself, and that's why we try to make that optically the way that you see our Discord is very structured and very easy to read as much as we can possibly do so. And that's also why we don't like to add too many extra channels. Like I've had people that have come in the past and they say, hey, do you want to partner up with me? And I say, sure, man, we'll partner up. And then they've been upset because we won't make it a separate channel for them, like basically advertising their server in the partnership. And I'm like, no, man, we have the channel for the partnerships. And if anybody wants to go find a different server, or if they want to go, they want to try something out, like maybe it's in between wipes of our own or something like that, or they're just not feeling our server, that's totally fine.
Right.
It's in that channel right there for them, but we're not going to clog up the Discord and go against our goal, which is to make it as easy to see as well.
Right. All right. So after talking about all that, we got to have a short-term goal. We can't just be playing the long game the whole time. What is one of the first things that we're looking at as a goal for the server?
For me, it's redirecting that energy, like I stated before, about how I really wanted to set the server apart, so I would sit there and mess with the settings. And now obviously I realize, hey, that's just pissing people off. People like this server the way that it is. So the short-term goal right now is redirecting that energy into more positive things while keeping the stats the way that they are, but making the community more immersive, making more things for people to be involved with, such as this podcast. When I had the idea for the podcast, I realized that's something that could really set us apart. I don't know of any other server that's doing a podcast, but I've been on servers before where they've got some drama going on and they've got a Discord call going and there's 125 people listening to it, and it's almost initially, just from seeing those sorts of situations, predisposed to be something that people will probably be interested in. I do also realize that people are willing to sit there for 4 to 6 hours and just watch somebody play Ark on Twitch,
Right.
And if they're spending 8 to as much as 16 hours a day on our server, a podcast is something that would probably interest a lot of people, but let them know what's going on. The other thing in terms of short-term goals is finding ways for us as the staff to re-interact with the community and let them know what's going on, such as with this podcast. We're also trying to move more towards doing TikTok shorts. We're going to be kind of getting the YouTube thing going a little bit. But short-term goals for me is more redirecting that energy of wanting to set ourselves apart in more positive ways that are going to be more immersive for the community.
Oh yeah, which goes back to that TikTok and stuff. I want to make this very clear to everyone listening to the podcast that's part of the Realm server. Please send me pictures, send me little clips. If you're doing something amazing and you just happen to get away with it, record that, send it to me. Is everything that I get sent going to be posted? No, but I'm hoping a majority of it. I am going to sift through it. If it's relevant to what we want in the server, then I'm going to post it. Small example, I had someone send me a screenshot with a comment on it and they wanted me to post it, and all I could think is, this serves nothing. It doesn't help the server, it doesn't do anything like that. So when I go to post things, they're going to be stuff that look good, that make you go, huh, I like that. I'm not going to post things that are like, well, that's starting a fight, because I have no plan on doing that. I would rather us have an open conversation about something than me post something to create that conversation in a negative way. Anyhow, I do want to create positive conversation.
Right. And that kind of leads to the whole idea of what did we make the server for in the beginning, and who are we making the server for? The broad overarching answer to that is yes, the server is for everybody. But initially we did make it with the idea and intent that we're going to attract more mature players, that the type of people that can get involved in a conflict, get involved in a raid and say GG at the end and not be toxic with it. More so, because we are ourselves, on the older end of the spectrum, hence my name Padre. because of that, we are trying to attract those types of people, but we are welcoming towards everybody at the same time.
Right. That is the goal. Well, let's we do have band stuff, structures, places, tames. Those are all found in our rules section, I believe. Correct?
That is correct.
All right. Now, for the sake of this podcast, I don't want to get into the band structures and tames. That I feel like we can put together over time. What I would like to do for this podcast was talk about the band locations, just so those are clear.
So as far as the band locations goes, basically, and without getting, like you said, too deep into the list of band items and all that, I, as a server owner, I don't like to take too many elements away from the game. I know that there's a lot of servers out there, particularly big servers, and hey, they have to operate whatever way they have to operate because they have obviously a larger fan base than we do, and that just entails different things to handle that sort of volume. But for me, I'm always trying to make sure that we're leaving as many elements in the game as possible. But that being 100%. Said, in terms of location specifically, for us, it has to be, whatever base location you take has to be raidable. It can't be an area that's why we've gotten rid of Pelagornises. That's why we've gotten rid of sleeping bags. It can't be an area that only you can get into and you glitch into it, because it potentially could be raided, but it's not. It's an unfair advantage. So that being said, like for instance, the only reason we have 7-second crouch on the center band, the reason for that is, yes, you can crouch your way into that, but if you have turrets inside of there, it shoots outside of the mesh, which is an unfair advantage because you can't actually reach those turrets, but those turrets can reach you. Those sorts of situations, or because of the way that we have our platform saddles and restrictions with that set up so that people can't do the cheap, metas and tactics of, Quetzal bombing and stuff like that, where they basically can take out an entire shanty in, a minute and a half on a Quetzal. Because of the way that we have that set up like that, there's other areas like Skylight on Extinction. We can't have that because it's so tall and so high that without having the platform saddle, it's very extremely difficult, especially if you've got a ton of turrets up there, to even get up there. Could you build up there? I don't believe you can, because I believe that would be too high for the structure build limit. So that being said, it would just be really extremely difficult, and that is, again, an unfair advantage.
Yeah, the goal of obviously making any base is to make it as hard as possible to raid.
Of course.
But if the only way to get in there is to throw a cryo through it and then hop on it, yeah, that is a little unfair of an advantage.
Right.
Or the turret shooting out through the mesh. That's definitely
right. Of course. So yeah, that's basically how that goes, and that's basically how that goes in terms of with anything that we ban. I really try my best not to be ban happy with structures, spam types, and dinosaurs. But when it comes to being a legitimate issue and we've investigated it and it's like, okay, this is completely unfair, that's when we do have to step in and do something.
Right, because we do need the balance. We need that balance of OP spots to be a base in. They're super powerful spots, but they are raidable, and that's the important part.
Correct.
Because we want the PvP. We won't. I don't want people to have bases and they're like, I've been sitting in this base for 3 weeks and nobody's done a thing. But yeah, because you're in an unfair position.
Right.
Nobody's going to raid you because it's not worth the time, resources, because it'll take them a day to get through that 7-second crouch.
Right. And, I've played on servers myself where I've seen I've seen solo guys that were so ridiculously good at this game, and they would literally come onto the server every single day and just talk garbage to every single person, just trying to get people to raid them because they're just sitting there. And we obviously don't want to have that scenario either.
Yeah.
But to bring this to the forefront, that's also why we've decided that the first week of every wipe, that's kind of how we're going to do that, because we have had concerns in the past with people wanting to do offline raid protection, and from my point of view, offline raid protection is just it's a slippery slope, and the reason for that being is because you set it up with good intentions. You want it to help people out and make it so that people don't get offline. And trust me when I tell you, I want to prevent the offlines as much as possible, because we want in-person PvP. We want people to be, if they're going to spend their time and effort into creating a base, doing all the grinding necessary, that they're going to at least be afforded the opportunity to defend that base. But that being said, offlines are just a part of Ark, and you can't really avoid them. But with offline raid protection, it just opens the doors for a lot of other things, like, then you're actually in a legitimate confrontation, and then, somebody's starting to lose a battle a little bit, and then they log off, It just opens the door for issues. So basically what we're doing is we realized that, okay, last wipe when we decided to do the 2x structure damage, I had tested it in caves and it was totally fine. And then when I tested it outside of caves and outside of the 6x damage range, I realized this is OP even at just 2x structure damage outside of caves. It's really excruciatingly difficult to do that. That was not my intent, especially with destroying vaults and stuff like that, cliff platforms. So obviously I realized, okay, I made a mistake in doing that. But we are still doing that the first week of wipe, so we give people the opportunity to build up. And usually it's right around week 2, maybe midway through week 2 is when you start seeing some of the trash being talked in general chat, and that's when you start seeing people, the conflicts arising, because now people are built up efficiently enough to the point where they feel like they can now make a move, and they start doing that. So the 1.25 turret damage and the 2x structure damage resistance for the first week is something that we're going to be kind of doing it as a way to alleviate at least that first week thing of letting people to allow themselves to build.
Speaking of the turret damage, that's 1.5, you said, correct?
1.25.
All right. Do you remember the one server I showed you that had, 5 times?
Yes, and then I remember exactly what my response was, is if they've got 5 times turret damage, then they're definitely sitting there messing around with character levels and dino levels, and messing around with different resistances and damage resistances and outputs and all that. And we can say a lot about Wildcard. I know, I've been there since day one. They're a company that created an amazing idea for a game that were at first too small to implement everything they needed to do, and then eventually, once they grew their studio a little bit, then they just became a company that just, there's so many things you can complain about them. They were never on time with literally a single release date. They've never ever been on time in their entire duration at the studio, literally not even once. But at the end of the day, the way that they've balanced the game, they've done a pretty good damn job of that. And in my opinion, when you go through and you start messing with all those sorts of stats, you're going down a rabbit hole. Once you mess with one thing, you're gonna have to rebalance another thing. So if you've got 5 times turret damage on your server, that tells me that to balance that, the way you're going to have to counteract that is you're going to have to now mess with player levels and mess with specific player stats and dino stats and levels, and it just becomes a mess overall.
Right? Like, to have that 5 times and then just say, well, I put in 5 times the hit points, then why bother changing it around?
Right.
So one of the last things I wanted to bring up is we want people to stream their gameplay. Don't be afraid to. And if at any point you
Always
want
welcome
your right at any point, if you want us to share your streamer thing, we will on our social media for sure. I'm hoping we can find a place that people can post their stream and they can click on it, as opposed to, I mean, we could tell them general chat, but I don't feel like that's the place for it. It doesn't belong in Toxic or anything like that. So,
well, we do have a structure that we have been building up for that, and I believe it's on the server right now in terms of I don't remember what the channel was specifically, but I think it might be advertisements or streaming or something like that. But we do have a channel that specifically states, if you would like to stream, just apply for it. We have a couple questions for you.
Okay, I found
more so being, like how often do you stream Ark? We just want to make sure that if we're going to give you streaming rights, that we're not going to have somebody who's going to get on there and do something stupid, or somebody that we're going to be sitting there promoting and trying to help them grow their channel, which we'll love to do. That is not going to, eventually they're going to move on to a different game, and then we're going to be promoting different games that are outside of the server. It does have to be a mutual thing for the both of us, and we're willing on our end to give a little bit more, obviously, to help you out to start your channel or whatever you want to do, because we do want that kind of thing. But right? Because of the way that of everything I just discussed, there is a specific process for it. You go to the channel, you read what the instructions are, and then I believe it tells you to create a ticket, and then we'll kind of give you a little bit of an interview, and then we'll do it that way.
Yeah, that's under the social promos tab, which I actually had closed down, so I couldn't see everything that was in it. I have every other tab open, but not that one.
Right.
Yeah. So, is there anything else you need to discuss?
Yeah, I guess the last thing would be, I know I've mentioned this in one of my last announcements. I have been a little quiet recently in terms of what's going on. Just, we are at our 7th wipe, trying to figure out how we're going to move forward. Last month specifically, it was a little bit tough. It's just been a tough start of the year for me. Financially, I got COVID before Christmas, and I work in the service industry as a bartender, and that was my last money shift, and I didn't have enough money for YouTube promotion, and it was a tough time. But that being said, because of this, trying to figure out how we're going to move forward as a server, how we're going to start retaining people that are playing here more often, how we're going to involve the community more, and how we're going to kind of relieve ourselves of the whole crux of having to rely at the whim of a YouTuber to do a plug for us. Because not only is it expensive, it's expensive, but the expense usually pays off to some degree, depending on how many followers they're getting, how many views are their average views per video. But the real issue is that, this wipe alone, I've emailed and sent messages to at least 50 YouTubers, and I got a response from 3 of them. And of the 3 of them, one of them said that he couldn't do it. One of them said he could do it, and then the other person kind of dicked me around a little bit and said, "Yeah, I can do it." And then I said, "Okay, cool. Well, this is when our wipe is. Can you do it then?" And they're like, "Maybe." And I'm like, "Well, no. This is specifically the wipe date. Like, can you do it or not? Like, this is a pretty cut and dry time frame." "Yeah, I'll let you know." Well, you know what? I can't work with that. So what we're doing to kind of move away from that is I've actually got YouTube ads that are in processing right now. YouTube's going through the video and making sure that it's up to their standards, probably making sure that it doesn't have anything offensive on there or anything like that. So as soon as that gets approved, we'll have ads running. We're trying to make ourselves more independent of being at the whim of YouTubers, because even though, yes, it does help in a lot of ways, if we can gain independence from that, and I can be running ads and putting X amount of dollars into advertising campaigns, that would really help us out in terms of pre-wipe, generating people to come into the server. One.
So talking about people using our streaming for us, one thing I think they're gonna have to realize is it's going to also have to be a content that we want them promoting. Like I don't necessarily want us, or you know what, we'll still promote it, but someone who's just sitting there and they just drop swears the entire time. It's like we need to almost put a prefix whenever they put down their stream, like whenever they share the link, that it is an 18 plus stream. Right. Because I want people to be like, well, I'm going to go watch this streamer, and they hit start and they're watching in their living room with their kids around, and then it's just F-bombs,
right.
Whereas opposed, if they see that, then they can be okay. You know what? If I'm going to watch this stream, I think I'm going to mute it.
And that's something that we would have to discuss one-on-one with the rest of the staff on how we're going to do that. If we did want to do that, that would possibly might make us have to turn the server into an 18 plus server when people join. They have to make that agreement so they know that beforehand. Or more specifically, like let's say we're going to take their stream that's been pre-recorded and we're going to post it onto our Ark, the Realm YouTube channel. That's another thing of like, we'd have to make sure that we post that video with the 18 plus kind of thing as well. It would be a little difficult to do that just sharing the stream on the server, unless we had that pre-text of when someone joins the server, this is an 18 plus server, just to cover our basis on that end of the spectrum. But yeah.
And no matter what, I am 100% sure we should never have an NSFW thing, because that will just go downhill.
That will never happen on the server. When we started the server back in June, we had some people on the server that were not only asking for NSFW channels, but they were under 18 asking for NSFW channels, and that is not something that will ever happen in the Realm. This is a video game server. It's a video game Discord. If you want to go do that stuff, do it on your own time. This is about the video game. We're not going into that whole aspect. That's just something that will never happen here.
Agreed, 100%. We do have a memes place for people to post things, and you know what? If it's that like risque, not safe for work things, like the memes got swears in it or something like that, those are fine, but nothing like gratuitous. That'll get deleted and removed immediately with possible repercussions for the poster.
With definite repercussions, because I mean, in my mind, if somebody's willing there to sit there and send a NSFW gif of like some sort of sexual act or something like that, then that tells me a lot about their mindset and what they think, their level of maturity, what they think is funny, and that's the sort of thing that would get you completely media banned entirely.
Yeah. Well, all right. That all sounds good to me.
All right. Well, the wipe is tomorrow, which is Friday, February 25th. The wipe date and time will be at 2 o'clock Central. That will be 8 o'clock GMT. So when that happens, we'll be rolling here into Season 7.